I'm Tad Flaky, and this is Pointless Global News. On today's show, anti-tank mines are found at Ikea? Next, pigs and iguanas are in this week's Animal Roundup. Finally, I'll dish out the 411 on performing better in sports, and it all starts in the bathroom. Now the details. Tank Blast, a new hit product coming soon to an Ikea near you. No matter how much experience you have, or how good you are at your job, eventually everybody makes a mistake. And that's okay. Admit your slip up, make amends, and move on. You certainly shouldn't try to covertly sweep your mistakes under the rug. Otherwise, you might end up like Major General Artur Kepczynski. In his role in the Polish Armed Forces, Kepczynski was essentially the logistics chief, responsible for ensuring troops and military material go to where they're supposed to. Last year, however, he committed what could be best described as a little bit of a goof. Soldiers unloading a bunch of material off of a train apparently forgot to pick up a bunch of high-powered anti-tank mines. The train took off, and the explosives disappeared. You'd imagine there'd be a massive operation to find them, right? Well, instead, Kepczynski forged shipping documents to make it seem the mines never existed. His solution worked for a while, until the military got an uncomfortable phone call from a local IKEA store. The IKEA representative wanted to know when the military planned to pick up the mines sitting in the furniture store's warehouse. Suddenly, important people started going through Kepczynski's shipping logs with a magnifying glass in hand. Understandably, this kind of blunder was embarrassing. However, considering dangerous military-grade explosives had just gone missing, the logistics unit mounted a full search and recover operation. However, Kepczynski chose not to report the incident to his higher-ups. Understandably, the military was a little bit upset about the fact that their weaponry was sitting in a civilian storage unit next to some flat-pack particle board TV stands. But where on earth did the IKEA mines come from? After all, on paper, every single anti-tank mine the Army owned was accounted for. Naturally, the big bosses of the military wanted some answers, and they started poring over some recent supply documents. This is probably where people noticed Kepczynski sweating like a chunk of rancid pork. Although the full audit of the situation is still ongoing, it seems that the authorities have caught on to Kepczynski. After all, Poland's Ministry of National Defense dismissed the general from his position on January 9th. Whether he'll face legal proceedings, that remains to be seen. What we do know, though, is that he would have likely been in less trouble if he had just owned up to the mistake from the beginning. And now for the latest from the Pointless Animal News Roundup. A pair of pernicious porcine perpetrators are in the crosshairs of the Pataskala, Ohio Police Department after a horrendous incident on Christmas Day. According to Police Chief Bruce Brooks, family members called on a welfare check on their 75-year-old Rebecca Westergaard, who I guess is a grandmother, I would assume, when they couldn't reach her. Police found the woman dead on her property near her home. Westergaard had been mauled and eaten by two pigs that belonged to her neighbor. Bruce Brooks said it was unclear whether charges will be filed. Since the animals are livestock rather than pets, it's just not something that we've ever run into. It's that time again, Florida. Falling iguana season. AccuWeather reported on January 8th that as temperatures began to drop along the Gulf Coast and southeast Florida, cold, stunned iguanas are likely to fall out of trees after losing their grip on branches. Residents are warned that the reptiles appear to be dead, but they're really just sleeping. Fully grown iguanas can actually be up to 5 feet long and up to 25 pounds, So they present a danger to unsuspecting humans walking along a sidewalk. Professional iguana remover Michael Ronquillo warns against handling the lethargic animals, saying that they can become defensive when they warm up. Plus, their droppings can contain salmonella. Yuck. Finally, brainiacs and bodybuilders alike should give a shit about their performance. You see, whether they cultivate their muscles or minds, people have always sought to be faster, stronger, better. Well, to achieve the peak of excellence, athletes and great thinkers alike both have resorted to various performance boosters, like anabolic steroids or even gladiator sweat. However, you don't need to take anything to do better, whether it's in sports or academia. In fact, you should be expelling something instead. That's right. The key to enhanced brain and muscle power is pooping. According to a new study, emptying your large intestine has a shockingly large effect on how well you can perform. Tests have revealed that not only does pooping help you get more out of your muscles, but it also sharpens your mind. The researchers aren't exactly clear on why this happens, but it's most likely due to your body's allocating limited resources where they're most needed. In any case, the revelation could offer some new insight into both athletic training and the treatment of degenerative brain diseases. This result really shouldn't surprise anybody. After all, don't you feel much lighter in both your body and mind after you take a nice big dump? I know I do. I feel at least like 5 pounds lighter. I wish. It's usually just a pound or two. You see, I weigh myself after pooping. I know. TMI. The poop research was published recently in the Journal of Sports Medicine and Health Science. It's long been known that having a healthy BM significantly extends your health and benefits it as well. It also can help the health of the planet if you're a whale. That's a story we covered a couple of weeks ago. If you follow us, you might already know that. Anyway, being constipated, for instance, has been shown to reduce cognitive function. In other words, a plugged butt makes you forgetful and slows your thinking. Clearly, there's some kind of connection between your brain and your body. Could the opposite be true? And actually, maybe I should have said the brain in your booty before, but you know what I'm talking about. In any case, if you're not able to poop, it just makes you dull and sluggish. And you're probably asking the question right now, does a healthy bowel movement actually make you smarter and faster? Well, to find out, the research team, led by biochemist Chen Chan Wei of the University of Taipei, hired 13 triathletes for their tests. They chose these athletes specifically because a triathlon requires the participants to compete in 3 completely different sports, which is an immense physical and mental challenge. In the first part of the test, the scientists measured the triathletes' physical performance 3 times. Initially, they checked how the athletes did and having to do this without having pooped recently. For the second test, they waited for the athletes to have a normal bowel movement before doing the performance test. The results were pretty astonishing. More than 2/3 of the athletes experienced a measurable uptick in their physical results after laying some cable. After the laxative, they all did better, laying even more cable, so to speak. All right, then. So pinching a loaf obviously improved physical performance. But what about the brain part, you asked? Well, for this test, the triathletes underwent the same no poop, regular poop laxative regimen as before. Instead of a physical test, though, they had to do the Stroop test. The Stroop test feeds the participants conflicting visual information and asks them to pick the correct answer. This one is the one where you might be asked to choose the word red, but the word is colored green. I hate those tests. In the end, the triathletes pretty much repeated the results from the physical test. 9 of them did much better after a regular dump, and all of them were even more mentally sharp and just feeling much better after the laxative treatment. So, what does all this mean in the end? Well, according to the researchers, it reveals a couple of things about our brains and guts. First of all, it demonstrates that doing well in sports or physical labor isn't just about brawn, it's also about your brain. And perhaps more importantly, it shows that your bowel's current condition may directly affect your brain's and therefore your muscles' performance. Why that happens, well, it isn't really that clear, but the researchers believe that it's a fairly simple matter of resource allocation. Digesting food and moving the resulting shit through your digestive tract requires a lot of work. Not only that, but keeping your asshole shut when not pooping can also be quite the arduous task. Should you empty your bowels before a physical or mental task, your body can now send all that effort to where have gone into the guts elsewhere. All of a sudden, you just might find yourself doing better at whatever you try. The results may help athletes in their training, but it could advance the treatment of conditions like Parkinson's. However, the team warns that you shouldn't take laxatives before a competition or a college exam. So remember, boys and girls, our spirit is not only inside the skull, but also inside other parts, and the rectum is also a part of the brain. And that's a smelly yet uplifting wrap for another Pointless Global News. Be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Tad Flaky. Stay pointless, my friend.